First Samuel, the 20th chapter, we're talking about dreams, hypnosis, and visions in the Bible. And we have two lifelong friends now, two people that have just knit their souls together in friendship. And David is going to go through a time of testing like I have been through in my life. You have to know this. To know this and understand it, you have to almost go through this betrayal that he is going through. It's a time of testing and preparation of David. God's going to see what he's made out of. In the 21st chapter, then David came to Nob, to Ahimelech the priest. And Ahimelech came trembling to meet David and said to him, "Why are you alone and no one with you?" Now this is a priest. This is unusual. Why are you here? Now what's happened here is going to cost Ahimelech his life and his whole family. And David said to Ahimelech the priest, "The king has commissioned me with a matter, and has said to me, let no one know anything about the matter on which I am sending you, and with which I commission you. And I have directed the young men to a certain place." Now David is not exactly telling the truth here. And therefore, what do you have on hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread and whatever can be found. And the priest answered David. Now this is the priest. He's over the tabernacle. Now the temple has not been built, but the tabernacle, and here in Leviticus 15 and 18, it tells you about the showbread. Let's go back to Leviticus 15 and 18. Now if a man has a seminal emission, he shall bathe all his body in water and be unclean until the evening. As for any garment or any leather on which there was a seminal emission, it shall be washed with water and be unclean until evening. If a man lies with a woman so that there is a seminal emission, they shall both bathe in water and be unclean to the evening. Now this is what it's talking about here. And this is what's going on. This is what the priest is asking David. So you know where it's coming from. Now therefore, what do you have on hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread, whatever can be found. And the priest answered and said to David, there is no ordinary bread on hand. Now what he's going to give him, if I can find it here, in the tabernacle there's a table of showbread right here. And this showbread here is holy bread. Only the priest can eat this holy bread. And when they go into service, they cannot be with their wives. Nothing like that. So that's why he asked him this question. And so the bread that here is on the table of showbread, that's what he's going to give to David for these men. And it's not lawful for it to eat, but this is an emergency. And the priest answered and said to David, there is no ordinary bread on hand, but there is a consecrated bed only if the young men have kept themselves from women. This is what it's talking about back in Leviticus the 15th chapter. And David answered the priest and said to him, surely women have been kept from us as previously when I set out on the vessels and the young men were holy. And though it was an ordinary journey, how much more than today will the vessels be holy? Now David is going to eat the showbread, which is for the priest only. Now Jesus brings this up in his ministry, by the way. So this is important. So you'll know what holy means separated. Holy means not of earth, literally. In the Kadesh HaKadashim, Kadesh means holy in Hebrew. The Holy of Holies, Kadesh HaKadashim. And then in the New Testament, it is Hagios in Greek. Hagios means not of earth. It comes from alpha negative on the front, and then gay, which is earth, not of earth. Holy means not of earth. When you're born from above, you're born with a holy birth. When you're born from below, you're born with an earthly birth. And that is what gives us that stigma, that infection of sin in our lives and in our blood. And the priest gave him consecrated bread, for there was no other bread there but the bread of the priest's presence. He went into the tabernacle area, and so he went into the tabernacle, and this bread was supposed to be laid in there for so many days, and then it would be taken out, and it would be eaten by the priest only. And now he goes in there in this area, and the priest gives him the table of showbread bread. And the table of showbread, the reason why showbread, it means the table of the presence bread. There were 12 loaves of bread there, and the 12 loaves represented the 12 tribes of Israel, and it meant that that the 12 tribes of Israel was always on the mind and the heart and the love of God. That's why what the 12 tribes or 12 loaves represented. And it said in the presence, which was removed before the Lord in order that to put hot bread in its place when it was taken away. In other words, they put hot bread or fresh bread in its place. And this bread was not like loaves of bread today. It was like a heavy tortilla. Now one of the servants of Saul was there that day and detained before the Lord, and his name was Doeg the Edomite. Doeg the Edomite. And the chief of Saul's shepherds. And David said to Ahimelech, now is there not a spear or sword on hand? Now, what he's going to go get Goliath's sword that David took and put it in the house of God. And when you dedicated something to the house of God, it was anathema. Anathema is a Greek word. It means to place up. But also it's used to be, when you're anathemized, you are cursed. That sword had been placed in the temple of God to represent what God had done in David's battle with the Philistine Goliath, the Leviathan, or the Nephilim, that is, not a Leviathan, the Nephilim. And it had been placed there to merit and be taken out. But David needed a weapon. So David is much older now, and they gave him this Goliath's weapons. And it had been placed there to be there forever. He said, is there not a weapon or sword on hand? Behold, I have neither sword nor my weapons with me, because the king's matter was so urgent. He had to escape, remember. And when the priest said, the sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah, behold, it is wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. It's in a holy place. This is anathema. This has been placed there forever. It can never be redeemed. It can never be taken out. That's what the word anathema means. When you place, even in a pagan temple, if you place something in that temple, something holy to your family, some family heirloom or whatever, you could never take it back. It was unredeemable. Anathema. Whom you killed in the valley of, behold, it is wrapped in the cloth behind the ephod, and if you will take it for yourself, take it. For there is none other except it here. And David said, there is none other like it. Give it to me. Now David arose and fled that day from Saul, and went to Achish, the king of Gath. But the servants of Achish said to him, is this not David, the king of the land? Did they not sing of this one that they danced, saying, Saul has slain his 1,000, David his 10,000? He's afraid. Now David is going to have to go live among the enemy. You have to live among the enemy. That's a terrible thing, to have to live among the enemy. And he disguised himself. And David took these words to heart and greatly feared Achish, the king of Gath. And so he disguised his sanity. Now he acts like he's crazy. Remember the Gadarene demoniac? The Gadarene demoniac had been living in the area of the Gadarene, Gadara. And he lived among the tombs. And he frothed at the mouth, he went around naked, he cut himself, he did all kinds of stuff. He was insane. And Jesus healed him and made a missionary out of him, by the way. The what we call Decapolis, the 10 cities, that was where Jesus sent that Gadarene demoniac. He wanted to follow him. He said, go back and tell your people. And by the way, churches were established there, tremendous churches, during that Gadarene's ministry as a missionary. Now David took these words to heart and greatly feared the king Achish, so he disguised his sanity. And he becomes like the Gadarene demoniac before them and acted insanely in their hands and scribbled on the doors of the gate and let his saliva run down his beard like the Gadarene demoniac. Then Achish said to his servants, behold, you see the man behaving like a madman. Why did you bring him to me? Do I like madmen? Do I need one more? And it reminds me of American streets today in the 2020, when they were acting like madmen and destroying all the property and going on in these peaceful, almost peaceful riots that they call demonstrations. He said, do I like crazy people? That you have brought one more to me to act like a madman in my presence? Shall this one come into my house? Chapter 22. So David departed from there and escaped to the cave of Adullam. And when his brothers and all his father's household heard of it, they went down there to him. Now, actually, grammatically, this is where chapter 21 ends. Chapter 22 and verse 2 is actually where the next chapter begins. The next subject, next chapter. So David departed. So that's part of 15. That should be verse number 16. And then 22 and verse 2 should be chapter number 22 and verse 1. And everyone who was in distress, and everyone who was in debt, and everyone who was discontented gathered to him, and he became captain over them, and there was about 400 men with him. 400 men. Now, all of these captains and all of these people that followed David, and they went out and fighting the Philistines and all these other people, now they're unwelcome in their own land. So David went to Mizpah of Moab. Remember, that's Mizpah is where Jacob and his father-in-law, that's where they made that covenant between them. And David went there to Mizpah of Moab, and he said to the king of Moab, please let my father and my mother come and stay with me until I know what God will do for me. And then he left them and the king of Moab, and they stayed with him all the time that David was in the stronghold. And the prophet Gad said to David, do not stay in the stronghold of Tar, go into the land of Judah. And here we have another prophet. This prophet was revealed to him in dream, visiting, or hypnosis, or whatever. And he tells David, go into the land of Judah. So David departed and went into the forest of Hereth. And Saul heard of David and the men who were with him had been discovered. Now Saul was sitting in Gibeah under a tamarisk tree. And by the way, the tamarisk trees, these tamarisk trees, this is where the natural manna comes from. The natural manna. There was natural manna and supernatural manna in the Bible. When God gave manna to Israel to eat in the wilderness, it just appeared. But there was a certain amount of manna that fell down out of the tamarisk trees. And this is a tamarisk tree where there was manna. Natural manna. On the height with his spear and in his hand, and all the servants were standing around him. Saul said to his servants, who stood up around him, hear now, O Benjamites, will the son of Jesse also give to all of you fields and vineyards? Will he make you all commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds? For all of you have conspired against me, so that there is no one who discloses to me when my son makes a covenant with the son of Jesse. Now he hates his son. This is the kind of hate that evil and wickedness festers in your lives. He hated him. David had never done anything wrong to Saul at all. He protected him. He fought his battles. He soothed him with his playing and singing, and he was one of the greatest artists of his day. He was the rock star of the day, so to speak. And there's none of you who is sorry for me and discloses to me that my son has stirred up my servant against me to lie in ambush. And it is to this day. They didn't try to kill him. They didn't try to kill him. David was protecting him. But this is the kind of hate that rules men. People with an evil conscience. Then Doeg the Edomite, who was standing by the servants of Saul, answered and said, I saw the son of Jesse coming to Nob, to Ahimelech the son of Ahitub, and he inquired of the Lord for him, and gave him provisions, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. And then the king sent someone to summon Ahimelech the priest, and the son of Ahitub, and all his father's household, and the priests who were in Nob, and all of them came to the king. And Saul said, listen to me now, son of Ahitub. And he answered, here I am, my lord. And Saul said to him, why have you the son of Jesse? Why have you and the son of Jesse conspired against me, in that you have given him bread and a sword, and have inquired of him, of God for him, that he should rise up against me by lying in an ambush, as is to this day. David was not trying to ambush him. He has a guilty conscience, because he would have tried to ambush David if he had a chance, and he tried to many times. He tried to kill David. So he just looks at David as if David is like him. David's not like him. Now this is the man of God here. This is the priest of God. This is the one that offers the sacrifices for the sins of Israel. What's he going to do with this man? Then Ahimelech answered the king and said, and who among all the servants is as faithful as David, even the king's son-in-law, who is a captain over your guard and is honored in your own house? He didn't know anything about what's going on. This is a priest. He's keeping his mind on godly things, and now he's got in the middle of something that he doesn't know anything about. He has run into one of the biggest sinners in the face of that earth at that time. This man's evil. that I just begin to inquire God for him today? Far be it from me. Do not let the king impute anything to his servant or to anything to the household of my father, for your servant knows nothing of all of the whole affair. I don't know anything what you're talking about, Saul. But the king said, you shall surely die. Ahimelech, you and all your father's household. He's going to kill the whole family because of a guilty conscience and because of the evil that's upon him. That word evil is arum in Hebrew. That means wicked, that means lie, that means cheat, that means steal. It means everything that is evil. And now Saul has become everything that is evil. And the king said to his guards who were attending him, turn around and put the priest of the Lord to death. Kill the priest of God. Because their hand also is with David, and because they knew that he was fleeing and did not reveal it to me. But the servants of the king were not willing to go forth and put their hands to attack the priests of the Lord. They had more conscience than he did. The crazy one here is Saul. He's crazy with jealousy and crazy with hate. Now, Doeg. The king said to Doeg, you turn around and attack the priest. And Doeg the Edomite turned around and attacked the priest, and he killed that day 85 men who were wearing the linen and the ephod. These men were priests of God. Talk about putting a nail in his own coffin. This did it. And he struck Nob, the city of the priest, with the edge of the sword. Now this is a son of Esau, remember. This is Doeg the Edomite. He's a son of Esau. Esau was a playboy of his day, a man of wickedness, a man that hated the covenant of God. God said, he said, Jacob I loved and Esau I hated. Esau didn't care anything about all his God was his belly and his appetite and his lust. Both men and women and children and infants also, oxen, donkeys, sheep, he struck with the edge of the sword. He even killed everybody, and they're all innocent. All the innocent died. This is the forward type of what's going to happen there in Bethlehem, when another son of Esau, Herod, had all the innocents killed because he was trying to kill Messiah King, Jesus Christos. And Abiathar told David that Saul had killed the priest of the Lord, and then David said to Abiathar, I knew on that day Doeg the Edomite was there, and he would surely tell Saul, and I have brought about the death of every person in your father's household. Stay with me, do not be afraid, for he who seeks my life seeks your life, for you are safe with me. Look at that. You are safe with me. David had friends. People, you know, the majority of the people went with Saul. But those that really knew the will of God knew that Saul was no longer God's chosen. He was never God's chosen anyway. He was not the king that God wanted over Israel. David was the king. But they wanted one too soon. Just look at what would have happened here if they just went ahead with Samuel and let him lead. Of course, he had two bad boys, remember. His sons were bad. David wouldn't have to go through all of this, would he? But God training David too. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. That happens always. Why do the good, why do the faithful, why do the innocent suffer? I've seen this so many times throughout the land. Terrible things happen to innocent people. But you know what? We have a God that comforts us. And even in this world, like Lazarus laying at the gate of the rich man, begging for the crumbs. Sometimes all we get is the crumbs. But in this afterlife, there will be glory forever and ever and ever and ever. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. That has haunted me all of my life. That saying that Jesus said, the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Our Father, we send this message out for your honor and glory. Please use it. Please touch your people's lives wherever they are in the world. Give them comfort and courage. And even though they might be going through terrible things, there's a great, glorious future forever ahead. Please forgive me where I fail you. In Jesus' name I pray.